Deep in the forests of Pennsylvania, once stood a thriving mining town named Centralia. It was a place much like any other. There were families, kids going to school, playing sports, a corner store where everyone knew your name, and busy streets filled with life. It looked like an idyllic town straight out of an Americana painting. However, what the townspeople didn't know was that their perfect community was built over a ticking time bomb. It all started in the early 1960s, when life in Centralia was just as ordinary as ever. Back then, most folks saw the mine as a source of jobs rather than a threat. And so when the town council approved a plan to burn off excess trash by dumping it into an old mine shaft on May 27, 1962, no one thought it would change their lives forever. What they did next would lead to the creation of one of the deadliest fires in American history. When the dump truck arrived at the mine, carrying loads of trash, including used tires and oily rags, it seemed like any other routine day in Centralia. But what happened next sent shockwaves through the small town. When the workers dumped the waste into the abandoned mine shaft, it ignited, causing a sudden burst of flame to shoot up into the air. At first, it looked more like a 4th of July fireworks display than something sinister. But within hours, the situation took a dark turn. As the fire continued to burn, it didn't go out like regular fires usually do. Instead, it spread deeper and wider, racing through the veins of coal that ran beneath the town. The fire grew out of control, turning into a raging inferno that nobody could stop. After days of trying to contain the blaze, firefighters realized it was impossible to put out. The fire had become unstoppable. But why? You might be wondering how a fire could burn so long without any oxygen. The answer lies in the unique nature of coal seam fires like this one. See, coal is a type of rock made up of carbon and other combustible materials. When exposed to heat and oxygen, it can ignite and burn, releasing massive amounts of energy. But unlike regular fires, coal seam fires don't need oxygen to keep burning. Once ignited, the fire can spread along the coal seams for miles, sustained by the chemical reactions between the coal and the surrounding environment. These fires can smolder for months or even years, fueled by the abundant supply of coal beneath the surface. And that's exactly what happened in Centralia. As the fire continued to burn, it caused the ground above it to grow hotter and hotter, eventually causing the earth itself to split open. Deadly gases seeped out, seeping into homes and businesses, poisoning the air and sickening those who breathed it in. The once charming town was now a ticking time bomb, waiting to explode and destroy everything in its path. At first, the residents of Centralia thought it was just a temporary inconvenience. They couldn't have been more wrong. One fateful day in 1964, a 12-year-old boy named Tommy was walking home from school when suddenly the ground beneath him gave way. He found himself being consumed by a fiery pit that opened up beneath his feet. Luckily, his friends rushed to help, pulling him to safety just in the nick of time. But the terrifying incident left an indelible mark on the town. From that moment on, fear consumed the residents. People began to flee their homes, abandoning everything they owned as they raced away from the fiery danger lurking beneath their feet. Entire neighborhoods emptied out, houses were left abandoned, and streets that were once bustling with life fell silent. It was as if the town was being evacuated by an invisible force. In the years that followed, the government grew increasingly concerned about the safety of the town. As more and more sinkholes appeared and the ground grew hotter and hotter, they knew they had to take action. But what to do about a runaway fire that was slowly destroying a town? After careful consideration, the government decided to take drastic measures. They began demolishing houses and buildings, wiping away entire city blocks as they went. This heartbreaking decision was necessary to protect the remaining residents and prevent further damage to the town. By the late 1980s, most of Centralia's buildings were gone. leaving behind only empty lots and smoldering ruins. The once vibrant town was now nothing but a ghost of its former self. And in 1991, the government revoked Centralia's zip code, officially declaring the town unsafe and unlivable. However, the fire still burned fiercely beneath the surface, refusing to be tamed. And that's when things took a strange turn. Some say the fire cursed the land, causing eerie lights and ghostly figures to appear among the ruins. Locals reported hearing disembodied voices echoing from beneath the earth, whispering tales of tragedy and despair. To this day, only a handful of people still live in Centralia, Pennsylvania. They're surrounded by the smoldering ruins of a ghost town that the world tried to erase. But the fire, it refuses to die. It continues to burn fiercely beneath the surface, fueled by the abundance of coal beneath the town. The land is a wasteland, scorched and scarred by the relentless blaze that has consumed everything in its path. As the years pass, the once picturesque landscape has been transformed into a haunting reminder of the town that once stood here. But the fire isn't the only thing that continues to burn. In many ways, Centralia is still alive. The spirit of the town lives on in the stories and memories of those who once called it home. Despite the tragedy that befell them, the townspeople of Centralia refused to give up. They rebuilt their lives and created new memories, keeping the spirit of their town alive. It's a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of community in the face of adversity. But the question remains, will the fire ever be extinguished? Or is Centralia doomed to be a smoldering ruin forever? If you ask some people, they'll tell you the fire is a curse, a punishment for the sins of the past. Others believe it's a blessing, a reminder of the strength and resilience of the human spirit. Only time will tell what the future holds for Centralia. Will it ever be possible to rebuild this town, or is it destined to be lost to the ages? One thing is certain, though. The fire will continue to burn, a constant reminder of the tragedy that befell this once great town. If you ever find yourself near Centralia, be sure to pay your respects to the town and its people. Take a walk through the abandoned streets and imagine what life was like before the fire. Listen closely, and you might be able to hear the whispers of the wind as it rushes through the abandoned houses. It's a sad, haunting sound that's sure to stick with you long after you leave town. So what do you think? Is the fire a curse or a blessing? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this one. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Deep in the heart of Appalachia lies a forgotten town consumed by an eternal flame. It is a place where the earth trembles with the heat of 1,000 furnaces, and where the air is thick with the scent of burning coal. Here, amidst the rolling hills and winding valleys, there is a place where the past refuses to stay buried. This is a story of a town that was lost to the earth, of a community that was swallowed whole by an insatiable blaze. It is a tale of a town that the world forgot. But there is more to this story than meets the eye. For as the town burned, something strange began to happen. The very land itself seemed to awaken from a deep slumber, stirring with a power that had lain dormant for centuries. The trees twisted into grotesque shapes as if in pain, and the animals fled in terror from the encroaching flames. And as the fire raged on, the townspeople began to whisper of a curse, a dark and terrible curse that had been unleashed upon their community. For years, they had lived in peace, their lives intertwined with the rhythms of the earth and the bounty of the land. But now the balance had been broken, and the wrath of the earth was falling down upon them in a torrent of fire and brimstone. The fire spread like a hungry beast, consuming everything in its path. Homes and businesses were reduced to ashes, their charred remains mingling with the smoke that billowed into the sky. The streets, once bustling with life, became desolate and silent, save for the crackling of the flames and the mournful cry of the wind. As the fire raged, the townspeople fled, abandoning their homes and their possessions in a desperate bid to escape the flames. But where could they go? The surrounding towns were already feeling the effects of the blaze, and the countryside was a labyrinth of winding roads and hidden paths. Many never made it out at all, and their souls are said to wander the charred streets of the town, forever seeking peace. But in the end, it wasn't the fire that destroyed the town, but the fear of the fire. For as the blaze spread, so did the panic. The townspeople, driven by a primal fear of the unknown, turned on each other, their fear turning to anger and their anger to violence. In the end, the town was lost, consumed by a fire that burned not just the buildings, but the very fabric of their society. Now, if you're one of the few brave souls who dares to venture into the forbidden zone, you may catch a glimpse of the ruins that remain. Twisted metal skeletons of buildings reaching up like the bones of some prehistoric creature, their hollow sockets staring blankly into the smoke-filled sky. The ground beneath your feet may tremble with the heat of the eternal flame, and the air may grow thick with the smell of burning coal and the whispers of the damned. Be warned, though, for the longer you stay in this cursed town, the more the darkness will seep into your soul, twisting your mind and turning your dreams to nightmares. And if you listen closely, you may hear the faint sound of laughter echoing through the ruins, the laughter of those who are lost and those who are watching. So turn back while you still can, for the longer you stay in this town, the more it will consume you until you, too, are lost forever in the flames.